Hello everyone, Namaskar, greetings from India. It is my great pleasure to present this paper on Kaavi Kalé, and I am thankful to the journal team and my friend architect Srimati Caroline D'Souza, and also I am very happy to present this paper in front of one of my artwork you can see here. Kaavi Kalé is a form of art that can be seen in west coast of India. It is a monochrome marble and it is an indigenous art form. Beautified the religious buildings, the houses, the masjids, the churches, marketplace, shops, the Tulsi Katte, lot of constructions, and even the samadhis also have this art form. In that case, it is very popular in west coast of India. India has a diverse culture in art and cultural forms. The question is about Kaavi art, where it is originated from. So when we discuss these things, one of the great scholars who worked hard to save this art form is Dr. Krishnanand Kamath. He said in his book, stating that this art form is basically originated from Goa. So Goan temples and Goan houses have a rich heritage. Constructions had the art form earlier because of the various reasons and the political issues that led this art form into extinct. And it traveled to the Karnataka region, the next state, and it survived there for a long period. And Kaavi Kalé is only found in this west coast region in Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, and some parts of the Kerala areas. In the maps that I have pointed in red dots showing the Kaavi art sites, more than 750 sites are still exist in this whole coastal belt. If this art form have survived in this area, what is the reason, or created in this area, what is the reason behind it? In this region, more than 4,000 to 4,200 mm rainfall happens every year. Because of that, the architectural constructions or the styles being made, the roofs are being made in 45-degree angled roofs. Earlier, these roofs are constructed in mud walls or bricks, either the laterite stone that is found in this region, and the roofs are the dried grass or the handmade tiles, handmade curved tiles, and then later the mangrove tiles. So there is always scholarly papers presented as this art form originally came from Portugal, and then they implemented this art form on the temples or on the churches, on the other buildings. It is very hard to say that this art form traveled from Portugal to India. How this art form is very indigenous, and it created using the local soil, local material, and done by the local people. what I have noticed in Archbishop's Palace near, say, Cathedral, bird that is very different, has two heads. We can see in the patterns of Kaavi art in this palace. And this form is all over the world, every culture, every religion used. But in India, Kadamba dynasty had the coins of this Gandabherunda bird. And again, in the Vijayanagara dynasty, that is, they are the welcoming people for the Portuguese, and they have their emblems and the coins in this form. That is influence to create an artisan to create this form on the walls. Secondly, in my research, I have found one of the interesting door guardian drawing on the pillars of Ardha Ganapati temple in Banavasi. This temple been constructed 600 years back, and the main temple built in 10th, 11th century, and later this temple built, and it has beautiful Kaavi art on the pillars. In Indian thoughts and the religious point of thinking, nothing is permanent. Every 12 years, every 144 years, there is major renovations takes place, and the olden things vanishes and the new ideas and the new constructions will happen on the same place. On the chapel of the Lady of the Mount in Goa, in the upper floor, on the walls, there are some motifs and there are some spiral geometric motifs that I have noticed that is similar to Hindu temples that is being carved in Kaavi art there on the walls. And these forms also, there are a lot of scholars said that this art form is a semi-mixture of Mughal and Hindu architecture. This is one of the example in Mojai temple, Morjim, that been built around 16th century. The Sanctoria Sanctum is old construction and new constructions are made as a Mukhamantapa or the entrance gate influenced by church constructions. This is another example of Sri Marikamba temple at Shirsi, Karnataka. It has a beautiful entrance. It's called as Mukhamantapa in local. And this temple have various forms of art, various epic stories are depicted on the walls, and also this temple has a beautiful stories on Ramayana and Mahabharata. The temple at Kumta, Karna Arjuna fight. Karna Arjuna subjects are from Mahabharata epic. These dramatic stills are made in the temples. These are the paintings or these are the artworks that shown the story of the epics to the local or common people. This is one of the interesting composition found in Honnavar Ram Mandir. In this temple also we have lot of epic stories being carved in Kaavi art. And also this is the medallions on soffit of Sri Maruti temple at Perinam, Goa, because Kaavi artists have done the beautiful art form and didn't left any space on the temples or houses. They have covered it whole and soul on the walls, on the ceilings, on the pillars, on the foundations. Everywhere they made this art form. And what could be the process of making it? Basic materials used in this art form is lime plaster and red mud that is called as Kaavi, and the gluten materials, that is sap of liana creeper, jaggery, wood apple, fruit juice, and gum arabica, powdered seeds of the tamarind tree, and aloe vera. So these are the proportions that some of the scholars found they have used on the cow plaster. So here I am showing one of the examples on a compressed mud wall, how the plaster application and the other things have used in the process of making Kaavi art. It starts from the lime preparation. These lime shells are available on the seaside. These are actually oysters. The inner part is used for food also. The outer shells, then they keep it and they store it, and later there are some communities, they burn it in a temperature and it gets a chemical form, and that is they use for slaking the lime. When it connects to water, when it reacts, mixes with the water, there are some exothermic reaction takes place and the slaked lime form we will get. So this plaster is usually applied on the mud wall. Here the rough plaster is applied on the planned area, that is used slaked lime, and it is mixed with sand and kept for a week for fermenting, then mixed properly, added little water and applied on the walls and flattened. When it is still wet, the smooth layer of plaster in 2:1 ratio with the clean river sand and slaked lime used on the top of this rough plaster layer and flattened. This process actually a method of a fresco method of wet plastering method. When it is still wet, we have to work on it. When it is still wet, the lime plaster is wet, the application of the cow plaster takes place. This cow plaster is butter-like component that is applied on this, that has red mud or laterite soil cleaned and sieved, and a ratio of 4:0.5 ratio of this red mud and the lime plaster mixed properly, grinded properly, and then applied on this layer. The next etching and the art form making process will happen. Here are the examples that takes place in various stages. Using compass, these designs have made when it is still wet. Various tools being used for this etching process, and again this is finished structure. In Goan Kaavi art, in the church Kaavi art, we can see one more step forward. They have used a method of making that is very interesting. There is a variation happens on the artwork. In Goan churches, these levels been made as these levels are flattened, and they again applied the lime plaster on the carved areas. Using this method, there are hundreds, thousands of the patterns, the mandalas, the geometrical shapes, forms are created, inspired by the nature. As I said, the whole material, shell lime, the seashells, the sand, and the gluing materials, red mud, cow, are used, and these raw materials are from local. And also the form of art, the leaves, flora and fauna, the flowers, everything that is seen in local, and they have turned it into art form. Here are some of the examples we can see we have found in Kaavi art. And then the mandalas, geometrical shapes. And one of the interesting thing in this is they have given a base or a kind of, if they make one floral design and they give one tree-like or plant-like design on the below area, and it has to stand on the walls. Last built temple in Kaavi art that I have found in my research, that is in Balkuru, Karnataka, Sri Venkataramana temple. That is the last construction we have found that they have done Kaavi art on the walls. At the 1960s and the 70s, because of the road widening and making new roads on this west coast, earlier the river routes are used, easily available material, plastering material is cement. They have used cement and started constructing new constructions for the temples, houses and the other areas. Yes, this art form has given, or the method has given, a longer durability and longer term, but the later period, the viewer's eyes are not satisfied with the methods and the form of this art, and they removed everything. They have constructed new structures in cement and concrete. So here are some of the examples. We can see how the Kaavi art can be damaged or the threats will happen on the art form. So here, inadequate upkeep of a foundation for a people tree, and the second one is about the cement renovations. They have made it on the walls. This is at Gokarna, Karnataka. Then because of the weather conditions, it won't stay. These putties won't stay and it came out. The major threat for this artwork are enamel paint application on it and making new art on that. Because Kaavi art doesn't need any kind of color application or any kind of retouching. It is a kind of art form, and it is a finished art form that stays for longer period because it is done on wet to wet process. So the idea of saving this art form is not only comes from scholarly areas. So we have focused how to save this art form, at least showing these images or something. Beyond that, how we can work out. So here are some of the examples using new medium, introducing new medium into schools, the high schools, 7th to 10th grade schools, giving them blocks and teaching them how to etch this art form on the panels, and at least get to know about the Kaavi art and the heritage and to save the culture. And this art form is very simple way people can do it. Because of that, this art form has done by the masonry artisans. We have lost them. And again, it creates another culture, and art is not just a still water, it is a floating water, and the old roots with the new shoots might be this Kaavi art uses that and it will go to a further way that again the Kaavi art heritage will start up. Thank you. Namaskar.